Hey everyone, welcome to my channel. My name is Rachel, and in this video I'm going to be telling you about my experience with seborrheic dermatitis. So basically, if you don't know what seborrheic dermatitis is, it's the cousin of dandruff. And what happens is with dandruff, you have white flakes or like that white stuff falling out of your scalp. However, with seborrheic dermatitis, not only do you have flakes falling out of your scalp, you also have redness. I used to experience excessive itching, and then also I used to have how I can best describe it is when you have a wound, that covering that forms over the wound that had like skin that forms over a fresh wound is what I had on my scalp. And whenever I would peel it, it would be like a fresh wound under, and those things used to itch like crazy. And while I'm at it, I'm going to be taking out this very old hairstyle. I've had this hairstyle for about 2 weeks, so these were mini twists. However, I'm going to be washing my hair in about a week's time, and what I'm trying to do is remove as much shedding as I can so that by the time wash day comes around, I have very little shedding to deal with. And after removing the shedded hair, I'm going to be braiding my hair again in bigger twists. I'm actually going to be braiding in this hairstyle that I found off of Pinterest, and I hope you guys like it. And without further ado, let's start off with the story time. Ever since I started growing out my hair, I feel like everyone and their mom has always told me that if I want my hair to grow long, if I want my hair to be shiny and to grow healthy, the thing that I should be doing the most is oiling my scalp. And there are thousands, if not millions of oils on the market made specifically for us to use on our scalps to apparently promote hair growth. And I actually came across an article while I was doing research for this video that says that we should oil our scalps as often as every day or at least twice a week. However, if we are not able to oil our scalps every day or twice a week, what we should do is apply the oil on our scalps an hour before we go to the shower to wash our hair. Then after oiling the scalp, you put a heat cap so that the oil is absorbed into your scalp, and then when that oil is absorbed, you just wash it out. Another article says that not only does oiling the scalp help promote hair growth, oiling the scalp will also help fight dandruff. It actually reads, oiling your hair keeps your scalp moisturized as a dandruff-prone scalp is usually very dry. And I feel like while all this information is very important and educational, usually when we are having important discussion about products that are useful to us, our health and our bodies, and that better us individually and as a community, we talk so much about the positive and completely ignore the negative. Take for example oiling the scalp. Most of the time when we are talking about oiling the scalp, we talk about the benefit fighting dandruff or hair growth, preventing hair fall and moisturizing the hair and all that, but we completely ignore the potential negative repercussions that we could experience as a result of applying oil on our scalps. And that is what hurts me the most, because as a result of ignoring those potential negative implications, people like me and you could suffer the negative consequences of oiling the scalp. I actually read an article online that says that instead of fighting dandruff, what oiling the scalp does is actually cause more dandruff or worsen the condition. So the science behind it is that naturally on our bodies we have a microbe called malassezia, and what malassezia does is feed on sebum. Sebum is the natural oil that is excreted from our glands on our scalps, and when that malassezia feeds on that oil, which is sebum, it excretes oleic acid. And almost all of us, which is about 50 to 70% of the population, is allergic to oleic acid. And when that oleic acid that's been excreted by the malassezia penetrates the upper layer of our skins, it leads to inflammation. And when that inflammation occurs, what happens is there will be shedding of skin cells from our scalps, and that is how we get dandruff. And actually, my experience with using oil on my scalp started a few years ago. So growing up, of course, I never grew out my hair because I went to boarding school, and in boarding schools we were never allowed to keep long hair, so we always had to cut it off before we reported to school. However, when I left high school and when I was going into the university, I started growing out my hair. And in the beginning years when I was growing it out, I never used to oil my scalp. What I would do is I would braid in a protective style wear it for about 6 to 8 weeks, minimum 6 weeks, and maximum was about 10 weeks. To be honest with you, I used to keep my protective styles for about 8 weeks. And during that time, I never used to oil my hair, so I never experienced the problem of dandruff. The only thing that I used to experience was a pretty dirty scalp. Every time I would unplait my hair, I would have these chunks of dirt attached to my hair strands and also some on my scalp. So when I would be washing my hair, I would be scrubbing, and you'd clearly there's some dead skin in your fingernails. That was the only problem that I used to experience. And I never used to oil my scalp because I used to think that if I applied grease or any type of oil on my scalp, the situation would only become worse. Like my scalp would be so much dirtier by the time I'm unplating this protective style and like washing my hair, and so I just didn't want to bother with it. Also, I never used to oil my hair because naturally I was a lazy nacho. So like I used to feel like oiling the scalp just takes way too much time than I'm willing to allocate to hair. I was a student at that point in time, so I had lectures, tests, exams, I had discussions, so I really didn't want to deal with protective styling and oiling the scalp in general. So yeah, that was one of the reasons why I never used to use oil at the beginning of my journey. So excuse me, but I'm going to be pausing the story here for a little bit because I want to talk about this hairstyle. As you can see, I've finished to take out all the twists that I initially had braided in my hair, and what I'm doing right now is putting my hair back so that I start the process of braiding my hair in the big twists that I told you about. And without further ado, let's carry on with the story time. A few years later, when I think I had left the university by this time, I started using the Cantu hair pomade. It's in form of a grease. So what I would do is every time I would wash my hair, I would put the Cantu hair grease on my hair strands. Also, I'd put it on my scalp. But during that time when I was using this grease on my scalp, the Cantu hair pomade grease, I never experienced dandruff. If I did, I do not remember, but the likelihood is that I never actually got dandruff. However, there was a period of time where my Cantu hair grease actually got finished, so I had nothing to use on my scalp, and then I started using olive oil because not only was it available to me at the time, but also I was thinking that I hated the smell of coconut oil, and then also the other oils, like I just didn't like them. And then I looked online and people were using the olive oil on their scalps and on their hair strands, so I was like, you know what, why can't I do this as well? However, after a few sessions of like using it on my scalp and on my hair, I started to notice that I was getting dandruff. And it's not like it was the first time for me to get dandruff, so like it wasn't something new to me. However, the extent to which the dandruff was like falling out of my scalp was alarming. I could not pinpoint the exact reason why I was getting dandruff because I made no correlation between me starting using olive oil on my scalp and me getting dandruff, because I had never seen people complaining that I got dandruff because I used olive oil. So I couldn't make that connection between olive oil and dandruff. But after using this olive oil on my scalp for a few more sessions, I think I used it like maybe 5 or 6 more times, the situation wasn't getting any better. So I was like, I think the olive oil is what is bringing me problems. So what I did was I went and I watched a few videos online, and then that was when they told me that some people are very sensitive to oil because we have this microbe malassezia. I learned about the whole science. I actually watched a few videos by some two creators that I love. They're YouTubers. One is called Dr. V Ratan, and then the other is a man. His channel is called Hair Something. I'll link it down below. Yeah, after watching those few videos and learning about oil and how we should avoid putting it on our scalps, that was when I made the connection. And then that was around the time that I made this video about how olive oil ruined my scalp. So at that point, I stopped using olive oil on my scalp. What I'd do is just put it on my hair strands. And to this day, I actually haven't used olive oil on my scalp again ever since that point in time. Not because it does not work, because I'm sure it works like on the hair strands. It seals in moisture and whatnot. Because like many people testify that it's good, and I also feel like if it's good enough to eat, then it must be good enough to use on our scalps, right? Anyways, I stopped using olive oil. Maybe a few weeks later, let's say about 2 weeks, I think, I don't remember the exact time frame, I started to notice that while I wasn't getting dandruff, I had like patches of wounds on my scalp. So I noticed that I had like lumps. You know how you have a wound and then like when you peel that, okay, let's say you've hit yourself, like you've scratched yourself on a surface, and like the fresh wound is healing, what the covering that comes on top, that's made by the red blood cells as a coating on top of the wound so that it doesn't bleed anymore. I noticed that I had those things on my scalp. So I was wondering, what is this? Like, and they used to itch so badly. The place on my scalp where I got those things was in the middle part of my head or my crown area and the back part. And it so happens that usually, even when I wash my scalp, that part is the most tender. Like when I'm scrubbing my scalp during wash day, I feel so much pain. Even when I'm protective styling my hair, I can't pull too much on that part of my head because it's so tender. So it was no coincidence that that area of skin was the one that was most affected. Of course, later, after doing a little bit more research, I came to find out that they call that condition seborrheic dermatitis. So at that point, I just completely stopped. I promised myself I'll never, ever, ever put oil on my scalp, and I'll never allow anyone to convince me otherwise. And then also, in the place of olive oil, I now started using avocado oil that I bought. It was very cheap. It's about let's say in dollars, it's like about $1 or $2. Before, I used to use the Cantu hair pomade, which was so expensive. It wasn't really worth it. It works the same. I feel like the results that I get are pretty much the same or at least similar because my hair is still moisturized, and because I'm trying to avoid using oil or letting oil touch my scalp, what I've started doing is when I'm applying the grease or any type of oil onto my hair strands, I put until the middle or halfway or 3/4 way, because I'm scared of the oil touching my scalp, because I don't want the condition to repeat itself. So I apply the oil onto my hair strands 3/4 ways, make sure I get my ends well, and then I style my hair the way that I want. And I know that it's not 100% effective because of course there's some hair strands that will touch your scalp and transfer the oil, but that possibility is so much lower of oil touching my scalp. Maybe it's about 90%. And right now I get very limited dandruff, and to reduce the chances more of me getting dandruff or seborrheic dermatitis reoccurring, what I have been doing is washing my hair as often as every 2 to 3 weeks. If I'm pushing it, I'll push the mark to the 4th week. I wash my hair very often because I don't want to push my luck. I don't want to try. And when I'm washing my hair, I always ensure to wash it with very hot water. Literally, I make sure the water is boiled, and the water sometimes burns my hands, but that's what I do because I want to avoid the chances of me ruining my hair and suffering like before. And so moral of the story is, if anyone is struggling with dandruff, if you're feeling like the condition is out of your hands and you've been oiling your scalp, please do yourself a favor and just stop oiling the scalp, because it's 100% not worth it. That lie that we've been told that oil helps grow hair is it should stop. The science behind applying oil on the scalp to grow your hair is, when you put oil on your scalp and you massage it into your scalp, it's not the oil that's helping, it's actually the massage. So what happens is, when you put the oil and then you're rubbing your scalp, blood flow is being stimulated to flow towards the surface of the scalp, and therefore it's carrying with it the nutrients that you ingested in your diet, and these nutrients are what will help you to grow healthier and less brittle hair, because once you eat healthy, your nails are going to grow faster, and when your nails grow faster, just know that even your hair is growing at a much faster rate, your skin is going to flourish, and overall your body is going to be much happier and much healthier. So those people who are selling us miracle hair growth oils, they're lying. The only thing that we have to do is make sure that we are moisturizing our hair strands and making sure that we trim often. I put the grease onto the ends of my hair, wash my hair with very hot water, shampoo it. I actually use bathing soap because it's milder. I did some research, and it's using bathing soap is milder on your hair because it doesn't have those harsh chemicals. And then after that, I put in a leave-in conditioner. I use the shea butter or shea moisture leave-in conditioner, and then after putting shea moisture, I put in the grease and I use water, and that is it. Those are the only things that I do to my hair because I just don't want to mess it up. So as you can tell, we've already come to close to the end of this video. However, in the next video that I'm going to be posting, I'm going to be talking about my experience using cannabis, or more commonly referred to as marijuana, to fight dandruff. So I've had this dandruff problem for a very long time, and during the time when I was struggling so much, at the peak of my dandruff struggles, I went around and asked a few people how they were dealing or how they dealt with the dandruff problem. And one of the people who I asked, who is my cousin, I asked her how she fought her dandruff, because she went through a traumatic situation where she got an accident, and what happened to her was she got hot oil, boiling oil, it poured on her face, and then some of it poured on like her other parts of her upper body. So as a result of that, of course, she was admitted in the hospital for about 3 weeks. I'm not sure, 3 weeks or 3 months. I don't remember exactly for how long she was in the hospital. However, when she came out, she has been suffering with peeling scalp and also dandruff. So she was one of the main people that I wanted to get knowledge from about how she handles her dandruff problem. And she told me that she used cannabis for a while, because of the fact that cannabis is illegal in most countries. Not very many people know about using cannabis to fight dandruff, but she told me that she used it, she tried it, and she said that it worked so well for her. So it was a very interesting concept to me. I was like, you know what, like, where is the harm in this? Of course, I did some research before I went ahead and tried using cannabis on my scalp, but I'll be telling you all the details of my experience in the next video. And yeah, this is the end of the video. I hope you like it. This is the style. It's not the same as the one in the picture, but it will do for me. So see you. Bye.